Overall, I don't have a problem with Queen Camilla. In fact, I usually tend to support what she does. But there is something that I've heard about recently that I cannot support at all. Camilla has decided to use the designer who made the late Princess Diana an icon to create her coronation gown. And so that has sparked quite the backlash from the princess's sons, William and Harry. They are so angry that their stepmother is defiling the memory of their late mother, according to palace sources. A high-ranking royal courtier said, "This is Camilla's ultimate diss at Diana. You'd think she'd be satisfied by stealing Charles and robbing Diana of the throne, but Camilla is driven by her jealous desire to outdo the tragic princess." For a long time now, apparently Camilla has been cozying up to British fashion mogul Bruce Oldfield, who once bragged, "I gave Diana her glamour and Camilla her confidence." And according to palace insiders, Camilla is going to need all the help that she can get when Charles is officially crowned king on May 6th. Now, clearly, Camilla was not gifted with Diana's good looks or charisma, but Bruce is quite the genius and he has secret corsets that he can use to boost her figure, and he is going to create a gorgeous outfit befitting a queen, says the courtier. And apparently, Oldfield has also harbored some degree of resentment towards the late Diana, because she decided to drop him as her designer after she split from Charles. To make matters worse, Diana also ended her role as president of Bernardo's. That, of course, is a charity supporting vulnerable kids and a cause close to Oldfield's heart. See, when he was only a baby, he was given up for adoption. He once complained about the loss of Diana's patronage. "We were shunned. We were pissed off." But Bruce's support of Camilla has struck a raw nerve with William. Sources say that he has taken it as another slight to his dead mother, as his father's longtime mistress and now second wife continues this quest to grind Diana's memory into dust. Another insider claims William has long resented Camilla for wrecking his family. He still sees her as the woman who pushed his mother out the door, and there's little doubt in his mind Diana would be alive today if it hadn't been for Camilla's meddling. Now he's going to be forced to watch his stepmother take center stage at the most important event in history for the royal family since Queen Elizabeth's coronation 70 years ago, and in a gown that would have likely been worn by Diana had her place not been stolen from her. Now reportedly, William is so furious about this that he reached out to Harry. Sources are saying the brothers are united in their feelings of outrage, although they have not come to a full peace accord yet. The courtier goes on to say, William is now threatening to boycott the coronation. He's demanding that Camilla find someone else to help her dress for the royal successor. There will be an empty chair at the event. Meanwhile, in a story about the relationship between Charles and the late Diana, well, they first met in 1977 while Charles was actually dating Diana's sister Sarah. He was out hunting grouse at Althorpe, the ancestral home of the Spencers, and Sarah gave an interview to a magazine detailing her relationship with the then Prince Charles, and so that made him decide that he needed to stop seeing her over this faux pas. So Diana's sister Sarah said that she introduced the couple to each other, and they immediately clicked. Sarah claimed that they shared the same sense of humor and they loved giggling together. They also enjoyed the fine arts like ballet and opera. Lady Sarah made these comments ahead of all the problems that occurred in their marriage. Now, 3 years went by before Charles and Diana met again and started dating each other. They actually only went on 13 separate dates before they got engaged. And it seemed like Diana was more in love with the idea of marrying the world's most eligible bachelor and becoming his princess than she was in love with Charles. And Charles was just hoping to grow to love the young, innocent woman. His family accepted her after all, and they considered her to be an amazing choice for him. Diana, for her part, was actually infatuated with Charles, and by the time their wedding day rolled around, she did love him. The night before they got married, Diana made a confession to her sisters that Charles told her that he did not love her. It seemed like Charles did not want Diana to marry him under false pretenses, and so that made her want to call the whole thing off. Well, her sisters told her that it was way too late to stop the wedding, and so Diana went through with it, although she later said that was the worst day of her entire life. And then right after their wedding, the couple had their honeymoon on the royal yacht Britannia, where they sailed around the Mediterranean for 2 whole weeks. After that, they went to Balmoral in Scotland. Now, Diana was still shaken from the realization that Prince Charles did not actually love her, so it was difficult for her to feel relaxed on the honeymoon. And then we've got to think about the phone calls that Charles reportedly made to Camilla while they were on the yacht. It made for a pretty unromantic honeymoon for the two of them. At that time, Camilla had actually already been married for 8 years, but Charles just needed to talk to her on an almost daily basis, according to his valet at the time. If Prince Charles talked with Camilla, then he was feeling good, he was in a good mood. But if they didn't talk, then the prince was ill tempered and touchy. And apparently, Prince Charles reported to a close friend that his and Diana's wedding night was not special. It was pleasant enough, but it wasn't special. At the time, see, Prince Charles really appreciated women who had more experience and were able to seduce him. He wasn't interested in the other way around. But Diana was so innocent, so she would not have felt comfortable seducing her new husband. She wanted him to show her the ropes because, well, she didn't know the ropes. Since nobody was in the bedroom on that evening, I take this whole story with a heaping grain of salt. Prince Charles had to have understood that his new bride needed some time and patience, and of course, love. And what really upset Diana was realizing that her new husband was wearing a gift from his ex Camilla. Charles was wearing some cufflinks with intertwined C's for Charles and Camilla. When Diana asked him about it, Charles claimed it was a gift from Camilla, and he didn't see what was wrong with that. Diana said they got into a big fight over it, and she felt so jealous of Camilla. Since then, a lot has been written about how incompatible the two were, and they did have a pretty rocky marriage. See, basically the whole time, Prince Charles was still emotionally involved with Camilla, and of course, that had a negative effect on his marriage to Diana. Meanwhile, Diana decided to try and find love other places, and she had more than a few lovers. Now, in years past, this marriage would have been actually pretty normal and acceptable. It would have looked great on paper, and then each person could have felt free to pursue their own life and lovers. But now we have to deal with phone tapping and photography and paparazzi and endless biographies. So Charles and Diana's marital problems were obvious to everybody. Many royal marriages in the past were actually not love matches at all, but still the people involved managed to make it work, or they lived apart after the heirs were born, and also the spares, of course. But the world knew too much about the late Princess Diana. They knew too much about then Prince Charles and how unhappy both of them were. So it turns out that Prince Charles wanted out of his engagement to Diana because he understood how dismal the prospects were. And he even cried out of frustration, and he had a firm conviction that this marriage was going to be a big mistake. But still, Charles could not manage to find a way to end the engagement. They hardly even dated. They were engaged for 5 months, and it ended badly. If only they had taken their time and been able to date for a longer period. If only they were more compatible. There are many if onlys in this situation. Another big red flag in that relationship was that they were not on the same level when it came to intelligence. Prince Charles was a university-educated man. He was well-read, he enjoyed learning different languages, and he pursued things like philosophy and art and painting, and he learned a lot about the environment. Princess Diana did not complete her schooling. Instead, she dropped out early. She didn't go to college, and she liked to read romance novels. The chasm here was pretty wide. Now, Diana was perfectly well suited to be a princess, but maybe not a princess who was married to Charles. And Diana was an amazing mother, nobody can deny that. She could have easily had more if her marriage had just been enjoyable, but after Harry was born, things really went downhill. Diana, the Princess of Wales, knew how to reach not only children, but also people who were in pain, and she loved those people deeply. Diana also adored her children, and William is a real credit to her. Once Charles and Diana got divorced in 1996, they eventually became friends, and they could talk without having any real problems. Charles and Diana did great at co-parenting, and that worked well for them. In the end, they really were friends. Later on, Charles said that he did love Diana, and I think Diana just spent her whole life looking for the love that she missed when her mother left her home when she was only 6 years old. It's tragic, it's sad, but the thing is, Charles and Diana were simply not a great love match.